Hello and welcome to Fist of Firsts, the podcast where I try and find out what makes the funny people who make us laugh tick. I'm Tim Reed, I'm a TV sitcom writer, and I'll be asking some of our finest comedians and comedy writers a bunch of first-time questions to uncover the pivotal moments in their lives, careers, and their creative process. I want to find out how the people who think differently think, so that we can all learn from the method behind their madness and be more creative. In this episode, I'm chatting to Urooj Ashfaq. Urooj is a brilliant stand-up comedian based in Mumbai and riding the wave of the burgeoning comedy scene in India, and at the same time becoming a global superstar. She won the Best Newcomer Award at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2023 for her fabulous show Oh No, and she's in the middle of taking her new show, It's Funny to Me, across India before heading off to Australia and then to the States with it. I caught up with her in between shows in Mumbai. Well, she was in Mumbai, I was in Macclesfield, but that's fine. Enjoy. Urooj, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So it's 1:30 in the afternoon over in Mumbai, that's right. I'm guessing it's warm.
Warm is an understatement. It's, is it muggy? Is that what you guys say?
Well, you can say, yeah, muggy. Is that like close? Is it oppressive? Is it that like...
It's oppressive.
Yeah.
Humid.
Ugh.
And yeah, I wouldn't want to be outside right now.
But yeah, so what are you up to at the moment? What's keeping you busy in Mumbai at the moment?
Yeah, I'm doing my India tour at the moment. So I'm gone every weekend. And that's really what's keeping me busy. And honestly, I've been getting food poisoning quite a bit. So that's
Have you? Lovely.
That's taking up some time.
So you say you're touring around in India at the moment. So you're based in Mumbai and you do the tour. I mean, it's a big old country to tour. How does that work? Do you kind of do a circuit, or do you keep going to and from Mumbai?
I keep going to and from. So every weekend we'll put like two cities together. And so then on a Friday, I'd be in Delhi, then I'd go to Bangalore, then I'd go to Chennai, and then I'd be back on Monday again. So you just kind of fly around. We took the train a lot when I was in the UK, when I was doing my UK tour.
Yeah.
But it's not, we take flights like a lot more. It's just so much distance to cover. If I had to take the train, I would take like 3 days to get to my destination.
Yeah, I bet when you're over here in the UK, it feels tiny by comparison. Is it like, do you laugh and point at the other comedians who complain about the distance they have to drive?
I do actually. I find some things to be, so they're so different, like in terms of the ease of commute is so different in London that somebody asked me the first time I came down to London, I was doing another podcast and someone said, what do you love about London? And I had the lamest answer. I was like, I like the tube.
Yeah. I think you say, I love it because it's tiny and there's hardly anyone here.
Yes, exactly. You get it, Tim. It's tiny. There's hardly anyone here. There's no pushing. There's no shoving. I love it. I love the tube.
Well, I just remember you reminded me. So when you're talking about the distance between all the places, my honeymoon 30 years ago, we went backpacking around the world, and everywhere, so not just India, but then in Australia, everywhere makes Britain feel tiny. And I can remember when we came home, one of the first things we did was we drove from Birmingham, right in the centre of England, to my in-laws on the west coast of Wales, which is like a 3-hour drive and used to feel like it took forever. But we got in the car and then we were suddenly there. And it was suddenly, perspective is a mad thing, isn't it? When you've been to different places and done different things, it's crazy how it changes your mind on stuff.
No, truly 3 hours is such a small amount of time, because in Mumbai, you would take that much time to get to most places that
the other side of Mumbai.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So look, I'm going to start with a random first-time question. So I'm going to ask you, I've got this pack of Fist of Firsts cards. These are just random first-time questions. I'm going to kick off with one of those, and then I want to and then I'm going to dig into your background.
That's all right. I'm prepared for the podcast. I did my preparation.
Oh, excellent. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Right, so I'm going to shuffle these cards, and then you say stop.
Stop.
That one?
Yes.
Oh, your first best friend.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's nice, isn't it?
My first best friend was a girl named Simran, who actually lives in London now, and I see her when I come over there.
Oh, how lovely.
I was actually born in Dubai, and so I grew up there for a bit, and we went to an Indian school. And Simran was my first best friend. She was really, really smart, and I was a troublemaker. And I'm a comedian now and she works in finance. So that checks out.
It does, yeah. It's funny how pre-programmed we are, aren't we? You know, we're clearly born with a destiny.
It really feels that way because everyone used to tell me you're so funny and you're so weird and you're so bad at studies, and then I just never got good at studies. So I was like, all right then.
And you make a thing of that in your bits in your shows often about how you were never going to be a doctor or a lawyer because you're not smart enough. You say
Not at all.
Which obviously you and I both know that comedians are actually the smartest and have to be. So I know what you're doing there. I know what you're doing. So she was a friend of yours in Dubai?
Yes.
So way back when?
Way back. My first best friend, when I was maybe first standard, first grade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
then we kept in touch over the years. And now when I came to London, I met her. I met her when I came to London in 2023 and 2024. And so she's my first best friend.
Oh, amazing. Did she get up to Edinburgh at all, or is she not that good of a friend?
She came to Soho Theatre. That's how much she bothered. Yeah. She was like, I'm not going to take the train for you.
Yeah. And then, so you moved from Dubai to Mumbai. Was it straight to Mumbai and then you've been there kind of ever since?
Yes. I moved to Mumbai when I was 12 years old, and I've been here ever since. And I'm really glad we made the move, honestly.
Yeah.
I just feel like the country, and I love it. I have an attachment to it, but it's like a mall. The whole country is a mall.
Yeah.
It's a little capitalist experiment.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's like the heat is also really oppressive. So you can't really go out. So you have to do everything indoors.
You don't like the heat of Dubai, so you moved to Mumbai.
I know that sounds silly, but it's different. They have dry heat and we have humid heat, and you can step out in our heat, but you're not a heat connoisseur like me, Tim.
No, I'm not. I don't understand heat. So being the funny one from the school, did that help when you landed in Mumbai and you had to start a new school, new place? Did you play on that?
Yes, I did. I was like, okay, I'm the strange kid from Dubai, and I'm new, and I don't know what's been happening in Mumbai for so long. So I tried to joke my way through making friends. And when I moved here, it got even worse because the kids here are so smart. And they were just studying. They've been studying for so long.
Yeah.
Like, what do I bring to the table? I'm not the nerd, or like, I'm not athletic. So I would try to do things that would make people laugh.
Yeah.
So.
Because your journey into comedy from there, it was pretty. It looks like it was pretty straightforward. You were the funny one at school, and then you started doing stand-up. Did it help that? And have I got this right? So it sounds. I think you started performing in about 2016, something like that. 2015, 2016.
Yes.
And did that coincide with the comedy scene in India starting to really blossom? Because I can remember. So just. I've been over in India like 3 or 4 times in the last 30, 40 years. When I was there in 2010 on a work thing, I can remember looking into the comedy scene. There didn't seem to be. I was in Bangalore and there didn't seem to be very much. And then I was back in Kochi in 2018. I was doing a talk actually at an advertising conference on the role of humour in our creativity. And so a lot of people in the audience were then coming up to me afterwards and talking about humour and comedy, really proudly about, how the stand-up scene across India was really starting to take off. So that was 2018. So it just occurred to me that your journey and maybe the journey of stand-up comedy over there kind of coincided a bit. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right, because I think our comedy scene, it started in 2014, I suppose. Like just, there were like a few open mics in Mumbai. And then I think Veer Das is one of the comedians who was really instrumental to like building the scene. And then there were a bunch of other comedy groups, AIB, SNG, EIC. They all sort of, just abbreviations, they all sort of helped build the scene. And so when I came in, we were like just 4 years old, and putting your videos on YouTube was something that was taking off. Also, like, I think I really got what I would say is like a first mover's advantage in terms of stage time, in terms of being a woman in comedy.
Yeah.
And so I think my journey has been sort of parallel to the Indian comedy scene. And it's really helped get to where I am, because there's so many of us and the scene is so crowded now.
Yeah.
It's a struggle to get a 5-minute spot. And when I speak to the newer comics, and I'm like, oh my God, this is considerably harder. And you're putting in 10 times the work I had to when I began. So
yeah, wow. And so that's really happened quite quickly then. That's like in 8, 9, 10 years. It's happened like that. And so is that partly because of social media as well? So people have seen that there's an opportunity for it, and then there's a real hunger to get out there and stake a claim in this new genre.
Yeah, the thing is, because this is the difference I found in UK and in India, because our scene is just like 10 years old. And I think UK has had a comedy scene for, I don't know, like 30, 40 years almost, right? Like if you have a comedy audience that wants to watch comedy, we have to build our comedy audience, because right now they still want to watch people who are popular.
Yes.
Myself included to a degree. I'm really not as popular as my colleagues, but they're coming out for comics as opposed to comedy at the moment.
Yeah.
But I can see that changing, because because they're bound to get bored of us also and want something new. So then that makes them stop just booking tickets to a solo show and take a chance on a lineup.
Yeah.
But that's happening slowly, because we used to have to push open mics and lineups on our Instagram and on our YouTube, and now we have standardized shows on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and they always have an audience. So this is something that started happening in the last 2-3 years, where it's like they just show up and they want to see what's happening.
And is that the same across all of India, or are there pockets of places where the comedy scene is maturing a bit quicker than others, or are there areas where the audience is more hungry for new comedy?
Yeah, I think in the big cities like Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, this is standardized. Everybody wants to watch comedy. Also because it's such a melting pot, and it's like people from all over the country. In slightly more homogeneous, smaller spaces, they may not be as open to comedy, but they're willing to see a popular comic that's coming along for a day or something, That'll take some more time. Yeah.
So you talk about the melting pots and all the different cultures that obviously thrive all together in the big cities. But does that mean you have to be aware of that with your act and the cultural reference points that you bring in, or, or what people will react to? Or does it mean you have to kind of stay more in terms of universal truths, or can you play on the different local? Because here in the UK, obviously, stand-ups will do the circuit. And even though they're moving like 10 miles, down the road, they'll kind of, look at the different, nuances of each village or town and what the things they love and hate in the different areas, and obviously all comics play on that to kind of reflect an audience. But how does that work when your melting pot is such a big pot and so melting?
Yeah, actually, I did ask local comics when I was touring the UK, or like when I went to a comedy club, I'd be like, so what's up with Manchester? What's Manchester about? Or what's happening in Birmingham? And then they would sort of give me whatever they could. And I think it's the same over here, because even though it is a melting pot, predominantly the culture or the cultural tolerance or the even the food is mostly dominated by the local people. So in Mumbai, which is in the state of Maharashtra, if I have to perform, if I make jokes about Maharashtrian culture, if I go to Bangalore and I make jokes about, South Indian habits, it would get a laugh, because since they live in that locality, they're aware. And, every place has its thing. Like Bangalore has really bad traffic. Mumbai is really expensive. Delhi is very aggressive. So everyone has something.
And so how did you get started? So you've gone from school being the funny girl. And then, so what made you decide to pursue it or give it a go? Can you remember that first gig? So talk me through that.
I was doing my bachelor's in psychology, and there's another comedian called Sumaira Sheikh. She's also a comedian, and to this day. And this is back in 2016. We were in college together, and we were always making jokes about the different mental health diseases that we would study. So we would try to if we were studying about schizophrenia, we'd make really inappropriate jokes with our friends, and depression and anxiety and bipolar, and sometimes with our teachers, and they'd laugh, but they'd be like, you can't say this. And so a lot of our friends in college were like, you guys seem like you're not going to be good psychologists because you lack basic empathy. But they're doing some open mics at the Canvas Laugh Club if you both want to try it out.
Oh, funny.
And because we were a unit, we were so empowered. We were like, yeah, let's do it. We'll give it a shot. And it really helped to have her in those initial years. And now, of course, she's doing her own thing and she's thriving.
Yeah.
But we had each other in those first 2 years to just go to every open mic and do every spot. So my first gig was at Canvas Laugh Club.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't exist anymore because they went into losses. But not before we found some not my problem. I got what I wanted. But that was my first gig. And the thing is, my first gig went well because there was a really good comedian called Atul Khatri who was hosting the whole thing. And he made sure the room was really warm. So that went well. And then I bombed for the next 6 months.
Wow, really?
But I tasted blood.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, they laughed the first time.
Yeah.
Why isn't it happening again? And so they sort of like kept me coming back, even though it was, the humiliation is so hard to stomach when you begin.
Do you think so? In that 6 months of bombing, those you were chasing the dragon, weren't you? You were kind of chasing that taste of blood again. What did you learn in that time? You know, there must have been like things you were thinking, why isn't that working, and to get it working again.
Yeah, I think one of the main things I learned in the first 6 months, I think, the first time I was nervous, so there was a lot of nervous energy and I was doing the jokes and it was really a blur. So I don't know what it was that worked the first time, but I'm going to credit it to the host. After that, I realized I was doing what I thought people wanted to hear. So there's like a sense of pandering when you begin,
Yes.
right? I was like, oh, I am this person. I like Sarah Silverman. So I'm going to ape her now. It takes so long to find out who you are, what you think is funny. Also, it's one component of doing comedy is like writing jokes and the jokes you like and being honest about what you want to joke about, regardless of how trivial or how deep or whatever you think it is, whatever is your narrative for that. The other thing is also, you realize it's not just about joking. It's actually, you have to learn how to do badly.
Yeah.
And when you can do that gracefully over and over, or you can like turn it around even a little bit, there is like the win in that, because that's the art. And it's when something's crashing, just like sort of, yeah. So that's in those 6 months, I learned how to humiliate myself in multiple rooms, but not break.
Yeah. So one, the resilience. But that's really interesting. You're talking about you learn how to fix the things that are going wrong. So can you think of an example of a bit that was like just not quite working and then you worked out how to make it work?
Yeah, I think there was a whole bit about being Muslim. And I was doing, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed to listen to those. I have the initial record. And honestly, my comedian friends who were like 2-3 years ahead of me in comedy already were like, they love to remind me of those jokes. They're like, you were so cringe. But I was doing jokes about like puns about, like blowing people up and blowjobs, which is so like, it's so painful because I was like, I'm an edgy Muslim comedian. That's what I am. I actually just wanted to talk about being Muslim and I was just not being honest. I was just doing this stupid shit around it.
Yeah.
And so I kept bombing until I think I made one joke about being Muslim, which was good, where I think I asked people in the audience, I was like, who's Muslim? And some people raised their hands.
Oh, I've seen that.
Oh, yes. And then I said, that's a trick question. And so that just came to me on stage and then that got a laugh. And I was like, okay, I think I need to just write volumes of something and see what the thread connecting it all was. Just like not trying to be like edgy or say what you think is a joke in terms of, it's so hard like to understand when I learned joke writing, because it also happened when I was watching other comics instinctively,
And now for a quick break. If you're enjoying the Fist of First series, why not send me your first time stories? Just send me a voice note, anything you've done for the first time, anything that's happened to you for the first time. Just record a quick voice note, DM me at my Instagram account, that's timreed69, or just email it in to me at fistoffirsts@gmail.com. And we'll constantly be looking out for the best first time stories, especially the voice notes, because I'll play them out in future episodes or read out the ones that you send in to me. So remember, it can be just anything you've done for the first time. Okay, let's get back to it. So how long before, because you then did the Queens of Comedy in India on TLC, is that a big channel over there?
No, actually, I mean, no offense to TLC, but it's not the biggest. It's not the biggest channel, but I think they have the purest hearts for wanting to do an all-women comedy lineup competition.
That was a competition and you got to the final. Is that right?
Yes, I got to the final. And another comic, her name is Nivedita Prakasam. She won. She's excellent.
Yeah.
I came in second. And it was great, honestly, because they took notice of everyone who was on the show. So it helped all of us.
Yeah, the profile must have been amazing. So what happened after that then? So more gigs, more touring around India.
I got signed on by an agency after that. OML, I was with them until very recently. They're lovely. And so I got signed by an agency. I got to do tour support for 2 acts.
How amazing.
Yes, 2 really big acts in India. Kunal Kamra and Kannan Gill. I went to like multiple cities with them. And it was such a good experience. Like, that was the first time I found out that I'm supposed to go and make local references a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
And were you doing that by seeing how they worked in different places?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Because I was so new and so nervous. Sometimes I would make a reference and that would work. But most of the times I would just go and I would just recite my set. It was just a mess. And then I'd see them and they'd go on and they'd just be like, oh, so Bangalore, this is how Bangalore is. And I was like, oh.
That's how you do it.
Just being a big dum-dum. Yeah.
And how long between that and then coming over to Edinburgh? Because I want to obviously get to, in 2023, you won the Best Newcomer at Edinburgh, didn't you, for the Oh No show? So between TLC, so Queens of Comedy, and getting those big support tours and Edinburgh.
2018 to 2023, that's the gap. In between that, there was Queens of Comedy, support tours, a few other things on OTTs, writing shows for other comics, being part of their writer's room, putting out my YouTube videos, doing my tours. And I was doing like tours in like comedy clubs. It's only after Edinburgh that I have started doing like a auditorium. Until then, I was doing tours, but I would do like comedy clubs in every city. And so YouTube, of course, really helped with that. But yeah, 2018 to 2023, that's the timeline.
And then the writing then, so getting into writing on other shows, because that's a whole other ball game, isn't it? Of, obviously learning the craft of stand-up and performing and playing the clubs and getting that instant feedback that you get. So writing, how did you get into that? How did you get the first gig on that? Because I know over here it's still a really hard thing to break into.
It's still hard over here. I mean, you write on shows, right? And so how intense that is. So I tried it with 2 shows and I gave up because it was... Yeah, I realized the instant feedback with stand-up, the sheer narcissism of stand-up and the solitary nature and the control you have. I didn't have... I mean, I really want to, but I sort of got sidetracked with stand-up then. But it's a considerable amount of effort to be in a writer's room, to sit for extended periods of time, to work on one idea for so long. I got started because a lot of comedians here, the first generation, the first wave of comics, were getting commissioned a lot of shows by OTT platforms like Amazon Prime and Netflix, because they were also starting up in India. And so they saw, these people have a following on the internet, so let's give them some shows. Now, of course, they have Bollywood. So they're not really, they're like, whatever, we don't care about comedians. We have Bollywood.
What were they looking for, like sitcom kind of shows or scripted comedy?
Scripted comedy, sitcoms. They did another stand-up comedies competition. I hosted that one.
How amazing.
Yeah. So I worked on a sitcom called Better Life Foundation. Yeah. I starred in another sitcom that my friend Sumukhi Suresh wrote called Pushpavali. It's very good. And so they were all sitcoms. Although Pushpavali, I would like to say, is a very fun one. She's kind of a stalker in it.
And what's that called and where can people find it?
On Amazon Prime. You can find Pushpavali on Amazon Prime. It's very good. Me and my friend Sumaira, we play real creeps in that show.
Do you?
Yeah. We're like 2 weird sisters.
Yeah.
So I got to write on those. Yeah.
So what was that like then? So like you say, you're working on one idea, you're working with other people. So collaborating with people you'd not worked with before, how was that?
Honestly, I was the intern in most of these spaces. So I would be typing up things and, I'd have half an idea and they'd be like, no. I'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess nobody likes my idea. And so when I was doing this grunt work, my YouTube video took off. And I was all of 23 years old. And I was like, oh, this is so much better. Everybody respects me here. I'm going to go do this.
I'm loved over here.
Yeah.
You guys don't understand. You don't know who you've got.
And they were absolutely right to reject my ideas. But so, I mean, but then I was like, I'm going to concentrate on stand-up. I get to do my own thing here.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's really hard to write movies and TV series. And I respect all my friends who do it day in and day out.
It's really hard. Yeah, it's much harder than stand-up. Much harder.
So much.
So then Edinburgh. 2023, well, that wasn't your first Edinburgh, was it? Was it the first time you came over to the festival?
Yeah. No, sorry. I visited in 2022 just to watch, but I've never performed. Otherwise, they wouldn't give me Best Newcomer. Otherwise,
Yeah, if you hadn't been already. And so, Oh No, that was the Oh No show. So talk me through that a bit, for anyone who hasn't seen. And obviously, bits of it, it's still on. It's on YouTube, isn't it? I think people can go and...
Yes, one bit is on YouTube. My favorite bit is not out yet. It's the part where I do like one-liners on chits, and basis of the audience reaction, there's a gag about me crying, and then and then I read my childhood diaries, which I realized only when I came to the UK, because when I started doing it in India, all my friends were like, oh my god, wow, this is so cool. And I was like one of the first people to read my childhood diaries on stage. And then I came to the UK and it's like, everyone's done this over here. And I was like, oh man, what the hell?
Who's told you that? Not everybody. That's interesting though, because you're talking about a bit about you're talking about crying. Because the bit that is out there references that. So it's obviously a thread through the show, the crying. Because then you start to, you talk to men in the audience and stuff like that about, crying and the fact that we never cry. So it must be so frustrating when they just put a chunk out of the show when actually there's threads that go from start to finish. The people aren't getting the whole thing. So when is it all out? When can we see it all?
The second part of the show will be out in another month when I have to promote another tour, hopefully. The thing is, it's so strange now because I obviously want to do things in the UK, but I also have to still be a comedian in India, which is where you have to cut up your bits and put them. So I prepare a show now for Fringe every year, but then I have to cut it up and put it out the way I would for YouTube. Yeah. So I feel a little bit conflicted now, because what works here is the audience in India, they're like, you cut up your show and you put out multiple videos and we'll watch them while we eat food and then we come to your show. But I think comics love to put out their specials nicely in UK, and they put out the whole thing.
Yeah.
But my audience doesn't have that patience for me. I think they want to see little bits. And my God, in India, that's why I got to do that. The show itself was, about therapy, my childhood, these one-liners, and then again, my childhood because of reading the diary. Yeah.
And so the difference between your audiences then, are there other cultural differences between an Indian and an English or a British audience that you have to be aware of when performing it? Or is it largely the same show?
The show itself in its essence is the same. Of course, it's the same. The jokes are the same. I have to translate the words, or sometimes I have to give context to certain cultural things. In India, if I were to make a joke about going to therapy in India, it would probably be like, oh wow, you go to therapy, and there'd be a sense of newness. But in the UK, people are like, yeah, okay, whatever, you were just another person who goes to therapy. So I have to give them that context that no, I'm special in my country.
Oh, funny. And so when you're writing a show, what's your process of coming up with the ideas? Where do you find your material from? How does it come to you?
I think I'm always really worried about this exact question that you're asking, is when I'm like, what if I have nothing to say? So even if I have half a thought, I jot it down in my notes. And when it's time to write something, I go over that. And I'll be honest, when I have an hour, and I've done it a few times, I really can't believe I have an hour, because it feels like, how did this happen? And how did these thoughts come together? And now I can see a narrative, I can see a structure. I wish I had more control over my own creative process, and I could claim to be that professional. But I'm honestly still figuring it out. And right now it's a collection of ideas that I keep working on, and I keep doing open, even if my show is 1 hour, I keep doing open mics in 10 minutes. Yeah. Because at an open mic, they're just not as amused as your own audiences in a solo, right? In a solo show, they already like you. And so
Yeah.
they allow you a lot of space. And you have 60 minutes to lose them and win them and lose them and win them.
Yes.
On a lineup show, if someone's killed right before you, and then you go and do your 10 minutes, and they're like, that wasn't really good, was it? It really makes you want to work harder then.
So that's really, so maybe that is your process then, is constantly doing those 10 minutes to kind of like keep those muscles toned and that bit of your brain highly tuned to performing and coming up with new stuff. When you do those tens, is it well worked out material, or are you doing a lot of improv too, or?
A lot of improv. Again, this is where I feel like learning to bomb has been really helpful, where I'm like, this 10 minutes is not just about this 10 minutes. So it's like, okay, I have a structure, but if I don't say something new today, if I don't try something new, I have wasted these 10 minutes. And so I have to try something new, at least for the process of elimination, where I can be like, this angle is not working. We've tried it. Let's eliminate it. But yeah, just to sort of, a lot of my jokes are like when I say something new on stage, which is why I don't know what I'm like, this just happens on its own. So I always feel like an imposter when I sit down to write.
Yeah, that's so interesting though, because I think everyone feels exactly like that. But the process, the magic is in is in exactly what you just said you do, is you take something, and it's the courage almost to kind of see if it works and see how you react if it doesn't, I guess, and then remember what did and build on it. The safety net, when you're doing that as a writer and you're in a room and you're thinking, oh, I've just this thought where maybe the characters do this and maybe one of them says that, you can mull it over and chew it over. And for your first audience is your own brain going, is that funny? Is that nice? And then you can have another little audience of your co-writers, your safety net of creative collaborators, and they go, oh yeah, and then they might build on it. So you can refine something in a small, safe room. Whereas what you're talking about is you're taking it out to strangers, which is a totally different kind of stimulus, I suppose, where you're sharing stuff. But to have the courage to try new things as it occurs to you then, I mean, that's in a way a real talent and process, obviously, of its own.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's that moment between thinking something and deciding to say it, and then that's what it is. You're right. It's like it's having done that so many times that now you have the courage to just be like, I thought it, I'm saying it, and let's see how it goes. Yeah.
And we do it all the time, don't we? It's like, our chat now is unscripted, and we've both found things where we suddenly thought, oh, that'd be quite funny to say. But you're doing it in front of how big are your rooms when you're doing your tens, and how much do you trust their reaction?
Well, honestly, you have to try it a bunch of times. You can't trust the one audience, because sometimes it's just a great day and everyone's having a great set. I trust to the audience if it's bad and everyone's bombing and they're like, oh, and they come back into the green room a little bit like dejected. And then we're all like, all right, we if they laugh today, there's some merit. But the rooms are usually, I would say, like, depends on the comedy club, but an average of like a 50, 60 seater is the comedy clubs. And if I'm doing a smaller room, which is those makeshift bars that become an open mic or whatever, it would be like a 30, 40. Like, this is the average. They're like tiny. Yeah. And
is there like a gang of you of stand-ups? Is there a regular bunch on the circuit that you get to know?
On the Mumbai circuit, and I can show you, there are 3 WhatsApp groups. And I think each WhatsApp group has like some 200 comedians on.
Wow, really?
Yes. Out of which I will say that I think regularly in the Mumbai circuit, and also because Mumbai is so big, that you have areas also in which some comics are performing.
Yeah.
I would say, I think around like 150, 200 comics are definitely regular. I probably run into some 50, 60 comedians or 100 comedians over the year, like all the time. Then there are comedians who are visiting from other cities.
Yeah.
They're doing their own show and then they're staying back for a few days, and then I run into them at open mics. Yeah. But of course, I have my preferred friends who I like to hang out with. There's a few of them. There's a handful of friends that.
Yeah. And they all had TV, because TV still a big thing, like getting onto TV, getting on, whether it's one of those competitions or because over here as well, so the panel shows became a big place where, if you were on the circuit, if you could get onto a panel show, then you knew you were going to be selling out your own gigs, because you suddenly your profile has gone through the roof. How does that work in India?
No, so India is different in that way because our TV is so stand up, I would say, is an alternative art form still. Even like regular stand up is alternative to popular mainstream culture.
Yeah.
And so our TV shows are meant for family consumption, and very traditional comedy happens in the sense that I think some of it is very dated, not to take away from the talent of somebody who's able to entertain an entire country that is as diverse as a bunch of European nations put together. And also, we have some very intense and intricate laws about what counts as something that could disturb the peace of the country. And
Yeah, really.
I understand it to a certain extent because of how diverse the country is. There's so many religions, there's so many different cultures. So TV is widely, they do not want us on. They are like, you guys are risky risk takers who say whatever you want. We're not going to have you on our TV channels and have multiple FIRs and like cases on us. And so it's the mainstream comedy on TV is very conservative and family friendly.
Yeah.
Some of it involves cross-dressing still. And so I would say TV, not really our way to go, but the internet is a lot more democratic for us. So YouTube is the way to go for us. Or the platforms like Netflix and Prime Video and other ones that are local to India are the ones where our shows go on.
Yeah.
TLC was very unique in the sense that it was the only one that was televised, Queens of Comedy. The other stand-up comedy competitions that I've mentioned have been on Amazon Prime or Netflix. Nothing else has been televised.
So what do you think? So of the big bunch of comedians, not just talking about you at the moment, but the ones that are on that circuit and doing well, what's their ambition? What do you think? What's the next stage for them? Do you think, want to get into scripted stuff, into acting, into films even, and do they want to take on the world, go out beyond India, or is everyone just different?
Yeah, so on the circuit, I think it's different for everyone, like you said. Like some of them definitely want to go and they want to become actors and do in Bollywood. Some of them want to write their own movies and TV shows and do stand up on the side as well. Some of them, the thing is, because we're so language based also, like if there are comedians that speak in the local language of the city, and so for them, they're going to go around the state, and then they're going to pick one language that most people can also speak and sort of do like that as well. So Hindi comedians, by and large, this is again a very hot button issue in India, but a lot of people speak Hindi, but not everyone, just to be very clear. But a lot of people speak Hindi. So for them, the whole country, like the thing is, because I'm so urban and I grew up in Mumbai and I am very privileged compared to a lot of my country, I would not do very well in smaller cities because I would annoy them with my very existence and my like, shut up, you haven't seen hard days and life. We don't know about your I mean, what do you want talking about therapy, man? Like we can't even have a conversation with our family. What do you mean? Your family lets you go to therapy? So a lot of comedians who grew up in smaller cities in India, they have all of India, even the smaller, the bigger cities, everywhere they can go. And not to mention that there are 1 billion of us, so they have the whole world also. They can go tour everywhere. And they can go into Bollywood, which is in itself a huge industry. And then the English-speaking comedians like me, or like a bunch of us, we would like to do festivals. We would like to do our sketches on YouTube or like, and I guess maybe write scripts and TV shows but it would be for in our country a smaller audience, but then the world understands what we're doing. So there's also a bigger audience out there. It's a little language based on who you can target.
Yeah, I was going to say language is clearly such a big part of it. And watching you, and a lot of the stuff I've seen, you switch so quickly from language to language, like from English into, I presume, is it Hindi and then others as well, where you're kind of translating, one or two bits to the same audience at the same time. I mean, that's, while you're doing that and thinking of the next bit and probably coming up with stuff in the moment, that's mind-blowing how you manage to do that.
That's so kind.
And be funny. It's incredibly impressive because you're having all these different groups laughing as well. And do they understand all of the an understanding of all the different languages.
They understand Hindi, most of the people. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes if there's like a local regional language thing, then I translate that also. But
Yeah.
honestly, in Mumbai, a lot of people switch in and out of Hindi and English. Like this is just a function of where I've grown up. People think in two languages in this city. So yeah.
And so talking of like the next thing and then the ambition. So for you, you've obviously Edinburgh, and you won the best newcomer for ONO, which is amazing. So what's next for you? What kind of you got your eyes on for the next 5-10 years? Are you thinking that far ahead? Is there a career plan?
It's really scary to think that far ahead, to be quite honest. Because I didn't think that, going to the Fringe after I saw it in 2022, I was in awe because I did not. The Fringe is so freeing to try whatever you want to try and to take risks. And being in India, I think, makes you a good comedian because the audience has really low tolerance to you not having a joke every 30 seconds. You can feel the audience getting bored in India. Like they tire easily and they let you know that they'll just be like,
Yeah, really?
yeah. People have so much patience to listen to you work your thoughts out at the Fringe. It's so beautiful. But I think I got to practice being a better joke writer. Like not better, but like an intensely joke writer person here in India because they have such low tolerance for silence. But you get to practice so much in the Fringe. So what this is all to say that I'm so fascinated by how much I can grow in stand up and learn from the different art forms right now by going to these festivals that I don't really know what I can do next because I still don't know what the potential of doing in my 1 hour is yet. I haven't, and like I was exposed to clowning last year. So I don't know what my long-term goal should be, except that right now I'm like, what else can I do? Because I only know how to do two things. Like, I'm good at joke writing. My face is expressive, yeah, sure. And I can speak about my feelings. But there's so much more I can do in my 1 hour. So I would say in the next maybe 5 years, I need to understand everything I can do in that 1 hour first, just to watch and learn. Yeah.
So it must feel wonderful that you got really to grips with this craft and this art form that you love, but with a sense of there's so much more to learn and hone and craft and define and refine.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I get so much exposure now to different countries and festivals, and even at a Fringe, it's people from all over the world. It's not just UK comedians. So
Yeah.
I think for a lot of us in India, like having this exposure is first of all, it's like, okay, let me maximize what I can learn from this first.
So what's 2025 got in store then? And what should everyone know and look out for what you're doing next?
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm touring in India with my new show, It's Funny to Me. Then I'm coming to Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Then I'll be going on a USA tour, America tour. And then I'll be coming to the Fringe with my new show.
Wow. So where can people get tickets?
All of my tickets are on my Instagram bio. I have a full thread of tickets there because all the ticketing platforms in all the countries are different. So if you go to my bio, I have a hyperlink to everything. It's all there. It's at Urooj Ashfaq on Instagram. No one else has my weird name.
No. Oh, Urooj, it's been such a pleasure chatting to you. The last thing I want to do, though, is if you had a younger brother or sister, they want to follow in your footsteps now, but it's all moved on that just a little bit since you were doing it. What if you had an hour with them? What would be the tricks and tools and stuff? What would be the most important things that you'd show them how to do? So rather than a bit of advice, what would you teach them?
Oh, I would be very organized about this.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, I think I would one give them a list of specials they can watch to start off with, just to be like, this is how good you can be, but you're not going to be for a while. But remember, this is where you can get to. I think I would tell them to maybe just read one or two books about joke writing structure, just so they have an idea. Of course, you have to break structure, but you need to learn it first to break it. Then I would give them a list of stand-up comedy clubs and open mics and people to call to book spots, because there's no other way to go about this but to do the work. And then I would tell them, I know it's hard, but do not think about being popular from the get-go. Just try to do your job well. It's going to help. And yeah, I think I would spend my day explaining this to them.
Yeah, such fabulous advice. And that's such a big one, isn't it? Like, don't go for the instant popular. See it as a course. You're learning. Go and enjoy failing and learning how you did it. So that's amazing to hear that that's what you did for 6 months once you'd had that taste of blood, as you put it.
Yes.
Urooj, that's such an interesting chat and such a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I had such a nice time chatting with you. Thank you.
Oh, Urooj is amazing. So much fun to chat to. If you haven't seen her show, oh no, you can watch the therapy bit on YouTube. It's about 18 minutes long and well worth your time. And then go and see her in Edinburgh in August. And you can tell she's going to be an even bigger superstar. She's already brilliant, but she's still so focused on improving her craft. She talks about soaking up all the different forms and genres of comedy at the festivals. Constant learning is what we all need to do. And I loved her advice at the end. Watch the specials, read the books, go to the clubs, soak it all up. And then the killer advice, don't try to be popular right from the get-go. Use those early months as on-the-job training. Amazing. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new one. And I include loads of the brilliant tools and tips from across the Fist of Firsts catalogue in my Fist of Funny comedy writing courses. More details on my website, timreed.co. Or you can follow me on socials at timreed69, or just subscribe to my email newsletter for news on all things Fist of Firsts and Fist of Funny. See you next time. Thanks for listening.